Today we're going to be doing iron-on towel designs, and this is just one of the examples that I'm going to show you. I'm also going to do some 4th of July ones, but I just wanted to show you some different ways that you could add iron-on designs to either towels or even like napkins or maybe a tablecloth, you know, that kind of thing. So we are going to talk about more about our using HTV and iron-on on different products. Today we're going to be focusing on welding, and we're going to be focusing on color sync and creating layers when you are doing your design space creations for iron-ons, okay? There, on your printable sheet, there's a list of supplies I used on the website. There are links to each of those items. I talked to you guys last week that I'm going to be using a flour sack towel. And you need to be aware of the type of flour sack towel that you purchase. There are a couple of them that do have additives, like fire retardants or other things in them. And that actually prevents the HTV from sticking. So I did find a couple of different brands that I like for the flour sack towels. And then, like I said, any of the iron-on that you might have, go ahead and practice with it, play with it, that kind of thing, okay? All right. So we're going to just go ahead and go into Cricut Design Space, and we're going to talk about terms to know. We're going to talk about weld, and we're going to talk about color sync today. And then I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can create designs for your towels, okay? So 2 of the terms we're going to talk about today are weld and color sync, okay? So weld allows you to join shapes together. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to grab that little pumpkin shape that I used on the sample towel. There it is, right there. So I created on that sample towel a row of pumpkins. You can see right here. There's just a nice little row of pumpkins. Okay, and I did that by welding. Okay, so I just took that original image, I duplicated it a couple of different times, kind of flipped it. A couple of them I flipped, you know, kind of tilted them a little bit. Yeah, just created a little row of pumpkins. All right, so this is kind of how I designed that towel that you're going to see in the little sample. When you are welding, you want to make sure that your images are touching, okay? They need to overlap slightly. So if we zoom in here, you can see right now these 2 pumpkins are just barely touching, okay? Now I can spread them apart and you can see there's a tiny little space there. Then if there's a space, it's not going to weld. If I have them touching, when I weld them, these 2 are going to glue together, okay? So basically, when you are welding, you need to make sure that they are either overlapping or touching, okay? So that they will glue together. All right, so we've got all 3 of those pumpkins touching. So you can see right here that the little tendrils are touching, the 2 pumpkin images are touching, and these 2 pumpkin images are touching, okay? Now you're going to notice that the weld option down in the lower right-hand corner is not active. That is because I don't have anything selected. I need to select at least 2 images for that weld option to show up. So when I snag and grab these 2 pumpkins, now the weld option in the lower right-hand corner has shown up, okay? I can select all 3 pumpkins and the weld option has shown up. So I need to select at least 2 of my images for that weld option to show up for me to be able to use. All right. Otherwise, that weld option it will not become active. Okay. You also, if you noticed, I'm going to go ahead and grab that pumpkin again. You notice that the original pumpkin was multiple layers. Okay. If I were, for example, wanting to create this pumpkin with that little background layer and wanted to weld 2 little pumpkins together, I would need to ungroup the layers. Right now, this pumpkin image is grouped together. You can see the word pumpkin, and you can see 2 little images underneath it, kind of like little subcategories. That means it is grouped. If I try to weld all of this together while these are grouped, it's going to glue everything together. So my outlines are going to be glued together, and my background pieces are going to be glued together. So I have to separate out layers by ungrouping them before I can weld. Okay, so I need to click on the little pumpkin. I need to click ungroup, click on the second pumpkin, click ungroup, and then I can select the individual layers by holding down my control key and selecting the layers in the layers panel. And now I can weld those individual pieces together. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and send this to the back. So now I have this complete piece that's the outlines of the pumpkin, and I have this complete piece that is the inserts or the backgrounds to the pumpkin. So if you're going to do multiple layers welded together, you do need to make sure that you ungroup those layers first before you attempt to weld them. Now you notice what I did there is I arranged them as a group, I put them all together as a group, and then I ungrouped them. It's just much easier to do it that way so you're not trying to manipulate the sizes in the layers. It's easier to resize those layers as a group first, get them in place, have them all touching, and then ungroup each individual set before you weld. Okay, it helps with the sizing. All right. Okay, another thing we have talked about multiple times, you cannot unweld once you save. Okay, unfortunately. All right. So if you end up saving and closing this project, you cannot undo anything. All right, everything is stuck. Now we have talked about in previous classes that it is always best to save a copy of your unwelded image and hide it before you save and exit. So right now you can see I have this pumpkin all set up how I want it to be welded together. This is pre-weld. I was hitting undo up here. So this is not welded yet. I'm going to go ahead and select these 2 pumpkins, and I'm going to duplicate them. I'm going to go ahead and group them together, and then I'm going to go over to the layers panel and just click that little eyeball next to the word group. And that's going to hide that group. And this is an unwelded group right now, okay? The reason I always save and hide that unwelded group is simply because I cannot come and undo the weld after I save. Now, if I know that this is how I'm going to have it, I'm not going to use this project later, I don't need to worry about that. But there are times that we need to come back and we need to make some changes. Maybe something didn't work. Maybe we got interrupted in the middle of a project. So just for safety and sanity's sake, I always duplicate the unwelded project, and then I group it together and I hide it in the layers panel just in case I do need to come back to this project later and I need an original version of the image that has not been unwelded. Okay? All right. Let's see. So that is weld. We're going to go ahead and talk about color sync too. That was another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today. A lot of people don't know what color sync is for. They often, it's either an afterthought or it's a, oh, I didn't know you could do that, you know, because, you know, we all learn new things as we go, and we don't realize that, oh, I didn't know that, you know, Cricut had that option, and that happens, you know, to all of us. Okay. Color sync is located over here in the layers panel. You can see it's right under the word make it. If we click on the little color sync panel, you're going to see a list of all the cut images. This is only the cut images. This is not any of the write, score, or print layers. It's only going to show your cut layers. But it's going to show all of the cut images that you have and the colors, the material colors they're going to cut out of. All right. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I use this. It helps me to match colors, first of all. It also helps me to consolidate colors on a project, and it helps me to reduce the number of materials that I'm going to use on a project. Now, I'm going to go back and just make a few little changes to my layers panel here. So I don't know about you, but there's been many, many times that I have popped in, you know, a couple of different images, and you can see here, like these pumpkins, that orange kind of looks the same. Not quite, but it's pretty close in color, right? You know, it's pretty close in color. All right, and so unless I know for sure that these two are a different color of orange, I might go ahead and just click make it and say, oh, this is all going to cut out of my orange cardstock. Well, then when I get to the map preview page here, I suddenly notice, oh, there are two oranges. I want these cut out of one piece of material, vinyl or cardstock or fabric, right? And that happens to all of us. Okay, it's always off by like a slight shade. That is why I like to look at the color sync panel. This is where I say it reduces the number of materials I use, okay? When I go to color sync, I can see here that there are two different orange shades or orange material colors. I can just grab this little pumpkin here and I can bring it up to the other orange color. And now these are going to cut out of the same material because I have changed them to the exact same color. All right. So when I say it helps me reduce the number of different materials I plan to use, this is what I mean by that. When I look at that color sync panel and I saw that there were multiple oranges, but I planned on coloring them out of one piece of material, by moving it around in the color sync panel, now all of those are going to go onto one orange mat. Okay, and I'm saving material. I'm not going to have to put out a bunch of other orange colors on different mats and waste a bunch of material. Okay, all right, so that's one of the reasons. It reduces the number of different materials that I plan on using. Okay, using in color sync. All right, the other reason that I like to use color sync is to consolidate colors on a project. All right, so right now when I look at this, I'm like, oh, I've got purple, I've got black, I've got peach, I've got brown. There's a lot of different colors here. And you know what? Maybe I've decided I would rather have all of those little pumpkin outlines be in black. Okay, I've decided I don't want all the different colors. So I can consolidate those colors by moving them around. And I did show you with the orange, the way you can just take a single image and drag it up to the color. So you can see now that these two pumpkins now have a black outline. Or I can just grab the little bar next to the row of images and bring that whole bar down to the color that I want to change it to. And now everything that's purple just changed black. Okay? The last thing, like I said, it helps you to match colors. You can see right here, these two pumpkins are peach. I would rather have them be orange, so I can either move the individual images as needed, or I can drag the entire thing down. And now all my pumpkins are orange and all my outlines are black. Okay? Now, like I said, it only shows the layers that are set to cut. It does not show any layers that write, score, or print. So you're not going to see any of those items in the Color Sync panel when you click on it. All right, so we are going to create 2 towels today. We're going to create a very simple one with welded towel images, and we're going to create one with some layered images that I'm going to kind of, it's more of the advanced edition is the layered images, because you're going to kind of have to think of how these images are going to go down onto your project. And so I'm going to kind of show you how to think that process through, and that's why the layered one is more of an advanced edition. The welded is kind of our basic, all right? We've always talked about here in class, I like to have a basic project for you, and then I like to show you an advanced project. So if you're super comfortable with the basics, you can go on and move on to that more advanced edition. But if the basic is all you can handle, it's okay to just tap out and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to work on today. All of us have been there. All of us have been at the very beginning where we're just getting started with the Cricut and we're learning some basic techniques. And some of you have been with me for over a year now. You've already had your Cricut for a while, so you like learning the advanced techniques. And that's why in my notes, you're always going to see 2 different options, okay? All right, so the first thing we're going to start out with is the welded towel image. Now, I just showed you kind of in that little weld thing how I made the little pumpkins, okay? With 4th of July coming up, I decided that it would be fun to kind of do one that was kind of little sparklers. So we're going to add some little sparklers in here today, all right? The first thing you need to do is measure how large your space is on your towel or your napkin. Now, so these tea towels are super big, but if you take a look at this, I'm going to see if I can go back. The image is only on the portion of the towel that shows while it's folded. Okay, part of that is because we can't make our images larger than 11.5 inches wide, right? Unless we have one of those 24-inch mats, and then you could go all the way across the towel. The other reason is it's just kind of a waste of iron-on. The only portion of your towel that's going to show is that little folded portion when it's hanging. And so I only put the HTV on that folded portion, okay? So depending on how you fold towels, I fold mine in thirds. Go ahead and fold your towel, all right? And then you're going to measure. So I've got it folded in thirds here, and then I'm going to fold it in half because it'll loop over my little oven handle, and then I'm going to measure this space here, okay? That is the space that you're going to be creating on, all right? So you need to know that measurement, okay? Okay. All right, the other thing to think about when you're using napkins, if you are going to be decorating a cloth napkin, think about how people use a napkin. With a towel, you could do an entire design, you know, all over the front, have a cute little saying. Whereas with a napkin, you probably only want a border design because people are going to be using the napkin if you let them. So I would stick to more of like a smaller design if you're doing a linen napkin. Okay? All right. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and insert a template. What's really cool is that Cricut has both a napkin and a towel template. So we're going to go ahead and put in, if you look up the napkin, here's the napkin template. Or you can type in towel, And you can see here is the towel template. Okay, I'm going to pop in the napkin first just so you guys can see the difference between the two templates. Now remember, templates are temporary. They're for reference only. They will not save with your project, and we will talk about that at the end when we go to save. But they are a nice reference, like I said. Okay. All right, so here, I'm going to zoom out. This is what the napkin template looks like, okay? And you can see up here it says type, and it says open or folded. So here is an open square napkin, or if you click folded, it's basically going to fold that napkin in half for you. Okay, so you can put your little design along the edge. All right. Now you have options for napkins. They've spelled it wrong, custom. Custom, beverage, luncheon, or dinner. And that just changes the size of the napkin. So if you've ever worked in the restaurant business, or if you have a lot of napkins at your house, you know the difference between a beverage, a luncheon, and a dinner napkin. Okay, now custom allows you to change the size of the napkin. If you decide that you have a different size than what is being offered, you can change the size. All right, let's go ahead and look at the towel one, because that's the one I'm going to be using. Let's see, I'm going to change the color and see if it pops up better for me. There we go. Okay, so this, I have for towel options, I have hand towel, washcloth, bath towel, oversized towel, or beach towel. So you have multiple options here for your towels. Again, there is under size, there's a standard or a custom. So standard would be like the standard hand towel size. Custom would allow you to change it to whatever size that you need. And then once again, once you hit custom, you can type in whatever size that you want to change it to by just popping in those different numbers. All right. Now you're going to see that when I go all the way up to beach towel, it's going to get super big. It's 39 by 71. All right. And I can zoom in and out by going to the lower left-hand corner here if needed. Okay. That's kind of hard to see. That beach towel is really big. And it only lets you scale down to 25%. So you might have to scroll up and down if you decide you're going to do a beach towel. Okay. All right. I'm just going to do hand towel because I'm doing the tea towel. And my space is, I'm going to change the color on this just to make it easier to see. Nope, not bright blue. There we go. So the space that I have that I showed you on my measurement, my space is 14 by 11. Okay. Now you can see right here, it's telling me that the custom or the standard hand towel, let's go to standard. The standard hand towel is, looks like 29 by 28. So it's showing it open. All right, I just want my template to be the space that I'm going to be using, which is that 14 by 11. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this to custom. I'm going to change my color to gray again, just so it's easier for you guys to see. I'm going to click the little unlock icon, and I'm going to change my width to 11 and my height to 14, and I'm going to click the enter key. And now I have a template with the space that I'm going to be creating my design onto. So this is the exact size of my current towel right now, in the folded position, like I said, so that I can make sure that my design is going to fit in this space. All right. Okay. If you take a look at my towel, the image actually goes a little bit wider, so like it shows, it kind of loops behind the fold. So if you want to make it a little bit wider, you can. A lot of people though, like with the tea towels, they just do a cute little saying or a quick little image, nothing really fancy. Okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is a welded image, just like those little pumpkins. We are going to be using the new Stars and Sparklers collection. So I'm going to go ahead and grab from this new collection. There is this adorable little set of sparklers. Where is it? It was on this one right here. It's a little firework. So I'm going to grab that. And I am going to zoom in just a little bit, just so I can make this a little bit easier to see. All right, so here is my sparkler design. Okay, you can see it has 3 layers here. It's got a background white layer, it's got a background red layer, and then it's got the little outline. I am just going to use the outline for this welded image. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on the other images, oh, not duplicate, and delete. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete each one of those images so that all I have is this outline of the sparkler. All right. Now I'm going to be making a row of these across the bottom of the towel. So these are going to be probably about 2.5 to 3 inches big. And if you take a look at this, that means that those stars are going to end up being super, super small. Okay. They're not going to be very big. All right, which means that weeding is going to be a bit of a pain. Okay, so you need to think about that when you're adding images and you're going to be creating an iron-on image. You need to start kind of thinking about all the little parts and pieces that come with it. And when I took a look at this, I thought, oh, there's a couple of those stars that are going to be large enough that I could weed them out, but there's going to be others that are just a little bit too hard to try to get out of there and to be able to see, and I really don't feel like taking the time today to do that. It's honestly up to you. They are easily weedable. You can do that. Just be aware that when you are adding images that sometimes you might have to manipulate them a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and manipulate this by contouring. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to click contour over here in the lower right corner. And I'm just going to go and scroll down along all of the little cut layers here. And I'm going to get rid of all of the stars except for that center star. Now you can also click on the images on the image itself. Sometimes it behaves, sometimes it doesn't. When they are a dark gray, that means they're going to cut out. When they're a darker gray means it's a cutout. Lighter gray means that it is not going to cut out, okay? So you can see like these stars that I contoured out, they're kind of a shade lighter, which means that I have removed that contour cut. The large star is still that darker gray, which means it's going to stay. So now you take a look at my little sparkler and I just have that single center star in the middle. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this a couple of times. And I am just going to twist and rotate and move them so that they are touching. Now you can also flip them. So like for example, maybe I would rather have this end be over on the other side just to kind of give it a little bit of contrast. I can go up to flip and click flip horizontal. And now I can kind of move that sparkler around and just give it a different look. Okay. So now I have 3 of these images and you can see they are touching. They are overlapping slightly. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and just grab all 3. I'm going to make them just a little bit smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate these. So now I have a second set of 3 images and I'm going to place them right next to the others. All right, right now this line is way too wide, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this extra sparkler piece here. and bring this one over. And now I have a little row of sparklers. Now, if you are like me, you're looking at it right now going, this is a little bit crooked. These aren't lined up very well. That's why we have the align tools, right? We can go in and just select all these images. We can go up to align and hit align bottom. You need to just kind of play with your row of images. Sometimes they will kind of do an up and down kind of look. That's what I did with the pumpkins. I made them go more like an up and down look. If you really want them to line up perfectly across the bottom, you know, hit that align bottom and then just move and manipulate them so that they are still touching and overlapping before we weld them, but that they have that more of the aligned look that you want, okay? Now the other thing you can do is just select every other. So if you hold your control key down and select every other sparkler, you can then just align bottom on every other sparkler and then kind of manipulate the ones in between, all right? And you can resize them, you know, to make some of the ones in between a little bit smaller. Just kind of give yourself a little bit of, you know, play with this, you know, play with the different designs, play with the look, okay? All right, so now we're to the point where everything is touching. I'm just going to call it good. You might sit and kind of play with yours for a little bit and manipulate it a little bit more and align it a little bit more. Just, you know, like I said, play with it, give it the look that you want so that you have your row of images, all right? Once you have that row of images, we're going to weld them together, all right? Now, remember how I said earlier, once we save this, we are not going to be able to come back and undo the weld, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and select all these images. I'm going to duplicate them. I'm going to group that duplicate set of images, and then I'm just going to hide that group, all right? So this group right now is hidden in the layers panel. It still exists. It just won't cut out and it's not welded. All right? Okay. Now I can weld this row of images. So I'm going to select all of these little sparklers and we're going to hit weld. All right, now this happens occasionally, okay? You can see a couple of those little sparklers filled in and it's because they were too close. All right, so I just need to go ahead and hit undo. And then I just need to move them over slightly, just barely. We'll try this again. And this happens sometimes with letters, I've discovered. I haven't quite understood the programming of why it does it. I think it's just if it looks like if they're just overlapping too much, it thinks it needs to fill it in. So sometimes you just kind of have to go back in and undo, move, redo. All right, so there we go. Okay, so now we have our overlapping sparkler images. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do on this towel is add just a nice little cute little line at the bottom, which is really cute. I'm going to go in and go into my images, and I have a tag shape. And I did put the number, the image number for this. It's M469CE. And you do need to put that pound sign or hashtag before it. This is from our art booking collection. I'm going to go ahead and insert that image. And I want this little dashed portion of the tag, okay? I want those little squares. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my contour key. And I'm going to get rid of the tag shape and the 3 little circles. And then we are going to rotate that at 90 degrees so that it's going horizontal. And we're just, whoops. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to duplicate a couple of these across the bottom of my towel. Okay? So again, I can go in and use that align tool to make sure that they are all aligned at the bottom, nice and straight. I can resize the group. I can change the color of the group to red. If I want, I could even duplicate all of these and place a set of them above. All right, so that was pretty simple. Okay, that was the main focus of this one was just to show you how to weld some basic images together in order to create that nice little towel or a napkin design for the 4th of July. Now, before we hit make it, we need to make sure that we attach the like colors. Okay, if you were cutting this out of paper, you probably wouldn't cut those little dashes out, but if you were cutting this out of paper, you would just cut out all the individual images and then you would just glue them down. Well, when you do iron-on, you have to make sure that you attach your images. We've done this with vinyl in the past. Here I am in the map preview, and you can see all of those little dashed lines are just all compacted in a row right there on the upper left corner of my mat. Cricut always does what's called paper saving mode. Excuse me. And it always tries to put all your images as close together as possible to save you as much material as it can, which is great, like I said, if you're cutting things out of paper. But when we're cutting things out of vinyl, we want things to stay in place, all right? So we're going to go back and go ahead and hit cancel, and we're going to attach all of the red images together. So I'm going to hold down my control key or your command key on a Mac, and I'm going to select all of those red images by clicking on them in the layers panel. All right. So you can see they've changed to a little bit darker shade of gray over here in the layers panel. Now I'm going to go down to that little paper clip that says attach and click attach. And now when I hit make it, the little red lines are in the exact place where I have them on my mat, okay, or where I had them on my canvas. All right, so my little sparklers that are here on the second mat that are going to cut out of blue iron-on are going to go right in between these two lines. Everything's held perfectly in place. It's going to cut out beautifully out of my iron-on, and I don't have to go in and try to manipulate it at all. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're always attaching the like color images before you cut them out. Now you also have to remember with iron-on that you need to mirror it because we're going to put shiny side down. So here over in the little map preview, you can see the word mirror. We just need to click the little toggle icon, and we'll do the same thing with the blue, and then we can go ahead and continue. Okay? All right, I'm going to cancel out of this. I want to show you real quick before we go on to the advanced edition how to save with a template. All right. Remember I said templates are temporary. They do not save with your project. So once I save this, when I come back to it later, this towel template is not going to be here. Okay. It's going to be gone. I'm going to have to bring in a template again. So when I save projects with templates, there are two things that I do. The first thing I do sometimes is I'll just take some text. I'll pop in a text and I'll type, this is a hand towel template, and then I'll type in the size. Okay. Now the text is kind of a pain sometimes because you have to make sure you hide it. You have to make sure you don't cut it out, you know, that kind of thing. But a lot of people like to use the text option. For me, I just usually save it. Okay, so this template, if I click down here on the template, I can see it's a hand towel in a custom size that is 11 by 14. So when I hit save, I'm going to put sparkler towel, so I know what it is. And then in parentheses, I will put hand towel 14 by 11. Okay. And sometimes I'll put W or H. All right. And I know that the words that are in the parentheses, that is the template that I used. All right. So that when I come back to this, and let me go ahead, I'm going to go into my projects. And let's bring up my projects. And we're going to bring that towel back, and you're going to see that the template's not there. Give it a minute to load. There it is. All right, so you can see that that template is gone. Okay, that hand towel template is no longer on here, but my little title up here says that I used a hand towel template that was 14 by 11. So I can go ahead and go back into my templates. I can go and look for that towel. Insert a new towel template. And I can change the size to 14 by 11. I'm going to change the color again so we can see it better. I must have had it a different size. I must not have looked at it very well. Oh, 11 by 14. That's what I did wrong. There we go. Okay, so now that I've popped in the correct size, you can see that now I have my template back and it's exactly where it was originally. Okay, so like I said, just remember templates are temporary. Go ahead and just figure out a way to let yourself know what kind of template you used so that when you come back to the project, you're able to pop it back in. Okay? All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to that advanced edition, all right, which is doing multiple layers on a towel. And this design is actually going to be a really easy design to pop in. The purpose of this next project is to show you how to attach your layers together so that they cut out of your HTV correctly, all right? So I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of these because I already have my towel template. I'm not going to go ahead and insert another one. I'm just going to use the one that's here. I am going to grab some more from that Stars and Sparklers. And this Stars and Sparklers is only available through my affiliate link. So if you would like to get a hold of these, there is a link on my site that will take you right to this new collection. All right, so I'm going to grab the 3 little ice cream cones and that Sparkle and Shine and hit Insert Images. All right. So right now I am going to just move this down and I'm going to do a quick little just stacking it together to make this fun little simple design for the 4th of July. Okay, nothing fancy. All right, okay. So I do want to change some colors around a little bit though. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use that color sync option. Remember how we talked about with color sync, it helps us to save some material colors and it helps us to combine different colors. So I'm going to go up to the layers panel and you're going to see the word color sync under Make It. And you can see right now I have a couple of different blues, I have a couple of different browns, and I want to kind of consolidate some of these a little bit, okay? The first thing I want to do, I actually want to change that word sparkle to the same color as shine. So I'm just going to grab that word sparkle and drag it up to the word shine. Okay, so now my sparkle and my shine are being cut out of the same color blue as this little popsicle. All right, now if I decide, you know what, I think I'd rather have them be red, I can drag sparkle and shine up to the red color. All right, okay. You can also see here I've got a couple of different colors of the brown color for my popsicle sticks and my ice cream. I would rather have them all cut out of the same material, of course. So I'm just going to drag that little ice cream cone up, and now it's going to be the same color as the other popsicle sticks. Okay? All right. So this now works for me. Okay, I have lessened the amount of material that I'm going to use. I've kind of combined some different colors, and the color sync has helped me do that really quickly and really easily. All right. Okay, the other thing I'm looking at in this design is that little piece on the ice cream cone. All right, I don't think I'm going to be layering that on top of it. It's designed as a separate cut piece to kind of give you a little bit of texture on the ice cream cone. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide it by clicking the eyeball. And then I'm just going to have a plain ice cream cone. Okay. So this is the point where I kind of was talking about is the advanced edition of the project. You kind of have to think with your brain here of how you're going to be putting all of these layers down onto the design. Okay, let's take a look at this first popsicle. All right, I have this large red piece, and I have this little like half white piece. I have this little tiny blue piece, and then I have this large brown piece that everything's going to layer down on top of. Okay, so when I go to place this down onto my project, I'm going to be putting the brown iron-on down first, then I'm going to put the red iron-on down, then the white iron-on, then the blue iron-on. Okay, that is how that little piece is designed to go together. Okay, when we take a look at this other ice cream cone, we're going to ungroup it and kind of take it apart. We have this little scoop that's red, a scoop that's white, a scoop that's blue, and the ice cream cone. So that one's pretty simple, right? This one, this other ice cream bar, also has multiple layers. We have this blue piece with the little stars that are cut out, this white piece that shows the stars behind it, this red piece that kind of just shows along the edge here, and then the brown piece that has the popsicle stick that everything's going to layer on top of. Okay, so the reason I kind of deconstructed those for you was to help you see how they go together. Now, you saw when I attached the last towel images, I attached all those red pieces together so that all the red pieces would cut out at the same time. They're all going to be on one piece of HTV iron-on, and I'm going to be able to put them all down together. Now, our goal is to do that with these type of images too, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Okay, so you kind of have to think your way through of how this is going to go down. Since I already have kind of stacked this little ice cream cone on the left on top of another ice cream bar, I'm going to have to do this ice cream separately from everything else, okay? If I were to try to attach this ice cream cone piece with this ice cream cone piece, with this ice cream cone piece, all the little brown pieces, if they were all going to be attached together, they're not going to cut out correctly. And let me show you what I mean here. The first thing, before I attach, I do need to ungroup all of my images. If I try to attach them while they are grouped, I'm just going to have a big old mess. So you need to first make sure all your images are ungrouped. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and hold down my Control key or my Command key on a Mac. And I'm just going to attach those tan shapes real quick. And you're going to see what I mean by you're going to have how these layers cannot be attached together. All right. So I've selected all 3 tan colors and I'm going to hit attach. And you can see now if I were to hit make it, this is how those tan shapes are going to cut out on my mat. That is not going to work, right? The ice cream cone is going to end up cutting out a big chunk out of that ice cream bar, and things aren't going to layer correctly. So we're going to go ahead and undo here. And we're going to rethink of what exactly we want to attach. Now, the purpose of attaching is to help us put everything in place exactly how we had it right here on our mat, right? We want everything to just show up exactly how we have it in place, so I don't have to do any measuring, so I know everything is perfect, okay? So you kind of, when we have multiple layers like this, you kind of have to think it through of how things are going to go down onto the project, all right? And you're also going to want to save yourself the most amount of materials, right? Okay, so the first thing I know that's going to go down is that brown popsicle layer, right? I know that the brown popsicle layer is going to go down first so that I can put everything else around it. So the first thing I'm going to attach are the 2 popsicle bar sticks. So I'm going to hold my control key down and I'm going to click on those 2 little ice cream bar sticks and I'm going to hit attach. Now it is going to move them to the front because whatever you are working with always moves to the top layer. It's not going to destroy your project or anything. It's just going to be moving layers around. You can go ahead and go up to the arrange option up here at the top and you can send it back to the back, okay? All right, so I know now that the little brown layers go down first. The next layer that goes on top of each of those brown layers are red layers, right? So I want to attach the red layer on this popsicle and the red layer on this popsicle. Now I cannot attach the little ice cream layer. If I were to try to attach that little ice cream layer, it would do exactly what we saw with all of those tan layers. It's just going to end up cutting out of the other red layer. So this little top ice cream, I'm going to just hold off on it for now, okay? I could attach the 2 little words sparkle and shine, but as I'm thinking about how am I going to put this all down onto my project, I'm actually thinking it's probably going to be much easier for me to attach the sparkle and the shine to this red ice cream scoop because that's going to help me with my spacing, right? If I attach the 2 little I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to first attach the 2 little popsicle red pieces. So I'm just going to hold down my control key and grab those 2 pieces and hit attach. Okay, and now I'm going to grab the 3 red pieces that are left. So the sparkle, the shine, and the ice cream cone, and I'm going to attach those separate. I'm going to hit make it, and you're going to see why I did what I did. Okay, let's go down to my little red layer here. So now I have this piece that's going to cut out of vinyl. Okay, I have my sparkle and my shine and the red ice cream scoop exactly where they need to go. All right, now I've attached the 2 little popsicle pieces separately. Okay, and I'm just going to actually bring them up here so you can see what it would look like. When these go down onto my project, now I know exactly where everything's going to be spaced because these 2 little red pieces are going to be perfectly spaced where they need to go down on my project. And then I've attached this portion separately so that when it goes down on top of all of the other items, it is also spaced exactly the way it needs to be. Okay, now I'm hoping that your brain is like not exploding right now. which is why this is the advanced edition, okay? Because I know that you guys are going to want to do some multi-layered images, and I want you to think about when you're attaching them, how you're going to have to attach them together, okay? Because that was one of the biggest things I had to learn when I was starting to attach HTV and vinyl. You kind of really have to think through, okay, how does this need to cut out so that it's still going to work, okay? So I've attached all the red layers. Now I'm going to attach my white layers, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm only going to attach the 2 popsicle pieces. So I've got my 2 white ice cream bar pieces. This one says popsicle, this one says ice cream bar. I'm holding down my control key or command on a Mac, and then I'm going to attach those 2 white layers. And let me go ahead and send them, move them backwards. Like I said, you don't have to move backwards. Just know that it does move things as you're arranging them. All right, so the last pieces we have are the blue. So we have the and, we have the base of this little popsicle, and we have this little ice cream cone scoop, okay? I am going to attach just the little scoop and the and, because I attached the red scoop and the sparkle and shine. I want to attach the blue scoop and the and then this one's going to just be its own little individual piece. So again, I'm going to hold my control key down, select the 2 images I want to attach, and attach them. And I know this is kind of hard for you to see right now how this is going to come together. Next week when it's all cut out, you're going to be able to kind of see why I did what I did. Okay, so now I have everything attached. I'm going to go ahead and hit make it. All right, so here are my white pieces. Here are my 2 little popsicles, and then I have that separate ice cream scoop, okay? Because this ice cream scoop actually stacks right on top of this little popsicle. So I really did not want to attach it with those white pieces. Okay, and then I have my little tan pieces. This little cone is separate because it stacks on top of this other piece. And then we have this blue scoop with the and then we have that separate little popsicle piece. We have this lighter blue color that's all on its own, and then we have those red pieces with the sparkle and shine with the 1 scoop and the 2 popsicle pieces. Now, because this is all cutting out of vinyl, if you want to save some vinyl, you can go in and, you know, move your little scoop in here, but you would have to go in with some scissors and cut it out. I would suggest you probably just put it over here to the side. The same with the tan. You know, this one we could move over just a little bit just to kind of save, you know, you can save material how you need to. You just don't want to cut these apart, okay? Because you want them to be on one single carrier sheet so that they go down on the project in the exact place that you want them placed on your towel, okay? All right, so I know that probably just like made your brain go, whoa, wait a minute, which is why it was the advanced edition today, okay? If you are doing multi-layer images, I really wanted you to be able to see when you go to attach these together that sometimes you do need to think about how they're going to go down on your project before you attach them, okay? All right. I'm hoping it didn't overwhelm you. If it did and it didn't make sense, let me know and I'll go over it again in another video. just go ahead and put those comments below if you're watching the replay, which all of you are going to end up doing. I hope you guys are enjoying this new topic. I hope that you have some fun ideas of things you want to try with your HTV. Next week, we will put those two towels together, and you're going to be able to see why I divided up the layers how I did. So, you know, today that little advanced edition may have been a little bit overwhelming. You might have went, I'm not quite getting what she's saying. But when I go to iron on those towels next week, you're going to be able to kind of see why I had to walk you through that little thought process, okay? All right, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. I can't wait to see what you create with your Cricuts.